I'm just so glad to be here I can hardly speak. And for a lawyer, that's a rare thing to have somebody be speechless. And I'm truly thankful to see each and every one of you here. I really am. I was honored to be asked to speak last year, and I said at that time, this is the beginning of something big. And there's no doubt in my mind that when a few people turn out for something like this and they share their hearts and they share their desire for justice and fairness and equity from their courts, that if their message is not heard, others will join them. And our message hasn't been heard. But there are more of us speaking it, and we're getting better at delivering the message. And I want to encourage you by telling you that they are starting to sit up and take notice. I am privileged to be involved in some lawsuits around the country. I don't keep my finger on the pulse of everything that's going on in every state, but I can tell you in the 6 or 7 years that I've been doing this, there are some enormously encouraging things happening now in certain states that had no traction and no legs under it even a year ago. We're getting better at the message, and we are getting better at communicating that we will not accept no change as an answer. So I want to thank you each for being here. I want to encourage you to tell others about what you believe in and to encourage them to join you, because we'll be back here next year one way or the other. Just briefly, for those of you that I've not had the honor of meeting, I'm from Amarillo, Texas. I have three children. I have sons 23 and 19 and a daughter that's 14. And I had a life-changing experience 8 years ago, and even though I was an attorney, I ran into the family court system, and a Texas district judge with a stroke of a pen, for no reason whatsoever, took my 3 children away from me, took me out of their lives, and I didn't see them at all for 2 years. I've asked God from time to time why He would do that to me and my children, and don't know that I have the answers, but something that seems very plausible is so that I would do something truly worthwhile with my life. I have done oil and gas law and real estate development law, and I dabbled a little bit in family law, just enough to know that it's like proctology is in the medical profession. I thought to myself, why would anybody want to make a living like that? And I was really not prepared for the power that a family court judge has. And I won't share my sad tale of woe with you, but I did spend several years in the appellate process believing that appellate judges would make right what a family court judge had done wrong. They didn't. The Texas Supreme Court denied my petition for review, but in that process I decided to do something truly worthwhile with my life. And my prayer to the God that I serve is that I will live long enough and that I can see with my own eyes this family court system torn down and rebuilt with something else that does not do to parents and children what this system does to our children and the parents that deserve to be with them. I want to take a moment and tell you, some of you who are not seeing your children, that there is hope. There was extreme alienation in my case. My younger son, for about 4 years, would have nothing to do with me because he'd been polluted with the lies and the propaganda that I walked away, that I didn't care, that I had no concern for them. I'm now as close to that son as any of my 3 children. And yet I can really, my heart goes out to those of you, and there are many of you that don't see your children enough or don't see your children at all. And this young son, at one point, we had a chance encounter at the back of a convenience store, and when he came around the corner and saw that it was me, and I said, "Hello, Daniel, I love you, son," he turned on his heel and didn't say a word, and he walked away. That son now calls me 2 or 3 times a week, and it's a glorious thing when those hard, broken relationships begin to heal. And I want to encourage those of you who are hurting because you don't have the relationship with your child or children that you deserve and that you want to have, stay the course. Never give up. Pray for them, love them, tell them you love them even when they insult you. They will come around. And I used to have people tell me that, and it was like gravel in my mouth. It's like, I don't want to hear that, you know. but I share it with you and I hope that it'll encourage you a little bit. Don't ever give up on your kids.
Never.
Never.
I want to tell you that as a father, it was a joy to be reconciled to my 3 children, and it gives me the strength to go on to try and change the system so that no other child has to suffer what my children suffered. As a lawyer, I can tell you that there are cases now working their way through the system, not just the handful that I'm involved in, but others that are out there. And some of them are good cases, some of them aren't so good cases, but the important thing is they're making their way up through the appellate process. And judges that have never considered or even been aware that there was a problem in the family courts, because these appeals used to not come up through the higher levels, are now getting a message, even from some of these appeals that are not very well done, that there's a real problem down at the trial court level. And so that's, it's not something that offers you any immediate relief, but I'm telling you, the system is beginning to take notice of the harm and the damage that is being caused every day in the family courts. I'm proud to say that the second case that I've helped work on that's reached the U.S. Supreme Court is now pending before the Supreme Court of the United States, asked for a petition for writ of certiorari on a case that involves a man who lived in one state, had 2 children, divorced from his wife. Children were very young. He moved to another state. He paid every penny of child support. His business failed. He decided to go back to college. He went to court and got a child support order that went to 0 until he could finish college. When he finished college, the state agency came back and got a new child support order that was about half what his original child support had been. He paid every penny that he'd been ordered to pay under order number 3. The first order, let's say it was $500 a month. The second order that went to 0, the third order that took it back up to $250. He paid every penny he owed under those 3 orders during the period covered by each order. 5 years after his youngest child reaches the age of 18, the child support agency from the state that he hadn't lived in for 20 years surfaces and says he still owes the child support as though the first order never went away. They wanted him to pay the difference between the $500 a month and the $250 a month. And fortunately, he was a fighter and a warrior, and he wouldn't give up. And in time, his federal court case that he filed under the Civil Rights Act, 42 U.S. Code 1983, was dismissed by the federal district judge. He appealed as a pro se appellant without the assistance of a lawyer. And so I offer some encouragement to some of those of you who are fighting your own legal battles without a lawyer. He actually appealed to the United States Court of Appeals for the 4th Circuit, and it was reversed and sent back to the district judge as an abuse of discretion that his case was dismissed.
Yeah, that's a victory.
That's a victory.
Yes, it is. Hooray.
I enjoy hearing about victories. There aren't very many of them, but they sure are sweet when they come.
Yes, they are.
The bad guys from the other state that he hadn't lived in 20 years took the same motion to dismiss that had already been reversed or had been dismissed on one ground. They had 5 other grounds. They just took the one out that had been unsuccessful, refiled it, and after 6 months of nothing, the federal judge dismissed it again on the second ground, that he had no cause of action. So here he is in court in the federal district court in Maryland for 2.5 years. The other side's never even filed an answer. And his case has been dismissed for the second time. He appealed to the United States Court of Appeals for the 4th Circuit, again as a pro se. This time he wasn't successful, but I was aware of his case and I got involved, and a Tennessee attorney and I prepared a petition for writ of certiorari asking the U.S. Supreme Court to decide if not 1, not 2, not 3, but a 4th final judgment, does res judicata and the rule of law mean anything? Does it protect a man who's paid every penny that he owes? Or will we simply let the in your face, we can do it because we can, bureaucracy come and plunder this man for no good reason?